It feels so far away now, like some distant dream trapped in my memories. But I can still remember the event so clearly, because it was just last week. Sunday, April 13th. Kim and I had the weekend off from work, and so I decided to pick a board game for us to play. I picked our favorite game, Ark Nova, and I decided that since she lost last time we played, she could be the first player. I'm a good person, but there was one problem. Kim was gone. It must have been sometime between me setting up the game and me finishing taking a poop that Kim had vanished. I looked everywhere. How could my gaming buddy, I mean girlfriend, just disappear like that without even taking her turn? I was really, really worried. But then I got bored of looking and I made a sandwich. But at 9:20 p.m., I remembered. She had some sort of work thing and she was going to be gone for the entire week. So I guess that meant no board games for me. But I didn't know it was this week. She never told me and she didn't even leave a note. But maybe it wasn't so bad. Forget board games. With the house to myself for a while, I could do whatever I wanted. I could be my own man, answer to no one. This could be one hell of a fun week. But as time went on, everything I did just ended up feeling so empty. Nothing was providing that same thrill that pushing around pieces of cardboard gave me. Without board games, was I really alive? Sure, I had read about playing board games by yourself. I'd seen a few YouTube videos about it. But something about it always seemed so strange, so alien. What good is winning a game by myself if there isn't anyone to gloat to and make feel bad for losing? I'm a good person. But as the evening crawled on, I found myself staring at my games, contemplating life, and asking the hardest questions I have ever reflected on. Why shouldn't I play with myself? Nobody teach rules to, nobody try to talk to me about their day, and nobody to eat all of my M&Ms. I should have done this years ago. So I had 5 days to embark on this solo gaming journey, Monday to Friday, 5 days, 5 games. Would I see solo gaming in a new light by the end of this? Or would I hate myself for not seeing daylight, eating way too much junk food, and smelling like farts for an entire week? There was only one way to find out. But not tonight, because I'm going to watch all the anime Kim doesn't usually let me watch when she's around.
There's not a man alive who can compare to my throbbing, purring BMO baby.
If you say so, ma'am.
The bike is the fast part. Why can't men understand that?
Don't judge me.
You've got an erection.
Yeah.
For Monday, I wanted to start my plunge into solo gaming with a narrative-driven game that reflected the beginning of my hero's journey. And I thought the best game to experience playing with myself first was Tidal Blades 2, Rise of the Enfolders. I knew it provided a shorter campaign than the typical Gloomhaven clones, so I was excited to go through the adventure, especially since I wouldn't have to rely on the strategic choices of my friends, who I know are not as brilliant as myself. Aesthetics were the first thing that drew me to this game. The miniatures are clunky, but have character, and the maps, which come in multiple booklets, are vivid and interesting. And because you're unburdened by boards, you can change maps quickly, which allows for some in-game scenario map alterations that are really cool and make the game feel organic and alive. And there is a clever system here where you play an action card into a grid and then decide to perform the other actions in either the row or column of that played card. This allows for a lot of chaining and sort of comboing of actions, which is similar almost to Marvel United, as it eliminates those turns typically found in these games, where it feels like you're doing very little. And what's interesting is that through these card activations, you're telling a single battle story that feels unique and different. And those cards are how you generally form your identity and tactics throughout the campaign. as you'll get more cards that are unique to your character, which can be augmented, called, and of course clogged as you're playing and you gain more wounds. And there are some fun, tough choices here because aside from selecting my card, I have to select the row I want to play it in, what symbol on my sheet I want to block, and if I want to put my third card in a row and clear those cards to get a really strong turn. It's a lighter game, yeah, but it's not without its own depth. I think a lot of people may complain about the game's length, but the thing is, there didn't feel like there was any filler content or bloat that you typically get for these types of games, sort of pad playtime. There were no generic missions here, and they all, they went beyond the typical like kill all the enemies thing. What I'm saying is that the game didn't waste my time, and I really appreciated that. Everything felt purposeful and unique. And on that first night of my gentle toe dip into solo gaming, once I had finished the first mission, I just decided to keep playing. The hours advanced as I continued to plow through scenarios and fight countless battles, and at some point I realized it was already 10 p.m. So I put the game away, very pleased with my first solo gaming experience. It's a good game, and I think I'll probably finish it in the future. I might just be starting to warm up to this whole playing with yourself thing. I was pretty excited for Tuesday because on Tuesday I was playing the game that everyone online screams is brilliant as a solo game, and I was curious to see if they were right. I am obviously talking about Spirit Island. Now I know I wouldn't get to share the thrill of defeating enemies with my friends, but I also wouldn't have to wait for my buddy to take his turn and ultimately end up disappointing me and the spirits. Spirit Island is a cooperative game where you play as an angry elemental spirit defending your island from relentless colonizers who just won't stop building towns. It's part area control, part engine building, and all while pulling off some awesome synergy through smart card play. There's an early game grind to Spirit Island that I've never really appreciated, despite being one of the games I actually really enjoy. It can get a little tiresome to go through the exact same colonial actions over and over again as I start feeling like a kid at a carnival playing whack-a-mole with settlers. But it's those damn spirit powers and cards that keep me engaged and having a great time. I love when a game finds a way to facilitate a player's growth and empowerment, not just through the selection of a player power you have at the start, but rather through an identity you build yourself throughout the course of the game. Spirit Island does this beautifully through its cards that you obtain as you play the game. So not only do you have your awesome spirit powers, but you also have all these new powers you obtain organically to tactically adapt to your current situation. And that choice and development just makes for an awesome play experience. I chose to play using two different spirits. I think it's called two-handed play in the solo gaming community. Look at me, I'm learning the lingo. But damn, it was a bit of a handful and honestly far more stressful than playing with other people because apparently I don't cooperate well with myself. But somewhere in the fog of planning, something clicked. I stopped playing like I was two people and concentrated on just being the island itself and looking at both spirits as sort of like one giant unit. My spirits were just abstract powers. They were characters working together in this sort of like desperate, glorious defense of their home. And in that quiet, chaotic solo space, I realized something. Spirit Island isn't just a great multiplayer game, it's a phenomenal solo one. It challenges you, respects your time, and rewards every little clever moment with a satisfying like hell yeah, where your plan just actually comes through and works. When I was done, I actually ended up leaving the game set up so I could try it again tomorrow morning before work. The solo gaming thing, is kind of getting infectious. I woke up on Wednesday knowing today was going to be rough. I knew it was going to be the most time-consuming game on my list, so I had to prepare myself and steel my resolve. I needed the endurance to go through the entire scenario. I needed the strength to destroy every town, cave, and tower I encountered. Mage Knight demands these sacrifices. Mage Knight is a dense deck-building adventure game where you explore a fantasy world, leveling up your character, destroying enemies, and occasionally forgetting every rule you just learned 5 minutes ago. Solo though? Solo is where the game transcends. There's no teammates to wait for, no one to yell at you for taking too long on your turn. I wasn't just battling monsters, I was battling myself. There's something humbling about realizing you've been planning your next turn for about 20 minutes, only to realize you're just out of movement cards. But the chaos is part of the charm. Every hand of cards becomes a tiny brain melter. Do I spend these cards to move, attack, block, or just sit in a corner and cry softly while the dummy player racks up tons and tons of points? And yet, the longer I played, the more it all sort of just clicked. The mechanics that can sometimes feel like math homework started to feel elegant, like I was speaking some ancient board game language only a select few truly understand. Mage Knight is an immensely pleasurable game with so much creativity and uniqueness in its design. There really is no other game out there that feels even remotely similar. Out of all the games I had planned for this week, this was the one I was most excited to get to the table. And when it was all done, something hit me, which always tends to happen when I play Mage Knight. That Mage Knight is a game that my dad would have absolutely loved. We used to play Heroes of Might and Magic 3 together just for hours. He was always the tower faction because he loves spamming giants. He rarely won against me, but damn, he really loved those giants. And Mage Knight is Heroes of Might and Magic, as far as I'm concerned. And maybe it was because I was alone at the time, and I know this is gonna sound lame, but it really kind of felt like he was gaming with me, like taunting me over my shoulder when I was making mistakes. All these memories just started pouring in of times we had together gaming, even if they were being facilitated by a game we had never actually played together. Maybe it was just because I had more time to reflect alone in silence, but that thought came into my head a lot that night. And it was a really cool feeling, and I'm thankful for it because I don't think I would have had that same experience had others been at the table with me. Solo game is actually pretty fun, but cleaning everything up yourself is a torturous hellscape. This is something that tomorrow's me can worry about. On Thursday, I remember waking up with a fairly startling realization. I hadn't been outside and seen sunlight since Kim left.
Morning, Mike. How you doing?
Morning, Dan. It's a beautiful day out, isn't it?
It is an awesome summer day, boy. Tell you, it's great.
Oh, I forgot. I still have your ladder, but I'll get it to you next week.
Next week? Yeah, that's good. Next week's fine. I don't need it. I use it rarely, so no big deal. But you know what? Whenever I get talking to you, can you at least put some pants on?
I don't think so, Dan.
What are you doing with a game? You got a board game going? I haven't played board games in a long time. Do you mind if we have a game of something later on?
No, I don't think so, Dan. I'm playing with myself this week.
Oh my God, I gotta put that fucking fence up.
Life of Amazonia is a bag builder at heart that is all about building your own ecosystem, carefully placing animals, plants, and resources in harmony. As the game progresses, you better your bag by purchasing better resources, all in order to get those rare animals into your forest. The trickiest part was balancing the flora and the fauna. It's not just about plopping down as many animals as you can, it's about creating a sort of sustainable network. The more diverse and harmonious, the more points. And the game is asking me to make a lot of really cool decisions, like how to use my resources, which animals to take, where they should go, how my forest should be built, and all those decisions, they were pretty enjoyable. And there was something oddly peaceful about playing Life of Amazonia solo. Maybe it was the immense nature of crafting a living, breathing environment, or maybe it was the fact that I didn't have to argue with anyone about how the monkey scored points every round. Solo gaming often feels like you're just fighting against the game's systems, but Life of Amazonia didn't feel that way. It was like I was collaborating with the game to create something awesome. And as the game progressed, I found myself more absorbed in the process than the outcome. I wasn't just playing to win, I was playing to watch the forest sort of grow, to see how the ecosystem would develop. There's something poetic about it, like I was crafting my own little piece of paradise. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's all about getting them points and trying to beat the high scores of random people online I will never meet, but absolutely have to impress. By the end, I wasn't sure if I'd won or if I'd lost, and honestly, I didn't really care. The journey itself was enough. I was starting to see that solo gaming wasn't always about beating some challenge or maxing your high score. Sometimes it's just about creating a story, seeing it unfold and appreciating the experience for what it is, even if that story is coming straight from one of the most abstract games in my collection.
Friday's game was different from the others. It was designed specifically for solo play. It was almost like it knew I'd be sitting there, alone in the dim light, trying to survive the night. Final Girl had to be the final game of the week. Final Girl is a solo-only survival horror game. One part slasher flick, one part puzzle box of decisions that slowly smothers you with dread. You play the last survivor of a horror movie, the Final Girl, and your only way to victory is to save a variety of fellow potential victims who have all decided that standing still or screaming and throwing themselves at the killer is their best defense strategy. There is a beautiful and yet frightening efficiency to playing this game, spending cards from my hand for actions or rolling dice for success, all compacted into this very tight time frame. The luck element, which typically annoys me in most games, felt more at home here because it added to the tension of the experience. It almost becomes this roguelike game where the second you lose, and you'll lose a lot when you first start playing, you want to restart and just try again, despite the relatively simple gameplay loop. But I don't think I opened up the Final Girl box for its mechanics. I was there to tell a story that night. Every decision mattered. Do I search this tucked away room in Creech Manor for a particular item, or do I try to rescue the young girl screaming in the distance? Do I continue searching the dusty attic, or do I run for my life because the poltergeist is breathing down my neck? The game just didn't give me a break. It was relentless. And Creech Manor taught me how frightening windows can be. If you know, you know. Make no mistake, Final Girl is a very light game. It's very random and would not normally receive any attention from me. But there was something about playing something so light by myself when I had been immersed in such deep games throughout the week that felt oddly charming. I suppose just like multiplayer gaming, it's good to have a variety of different complexities with solo gaming. It might help that I'm a huge horror fan, and so the theme was cheating by placating to my obsession with the genre. After 5 days, I finally got it. Playing board games alone isn't just a compromise. It's not some sad consolation prize. It's its own adventure where you're not just the player, but also the storyteller. It's funny, I started the week thinking solo gaming would be awkward and lonely, but it turned out to be something else entirely, a way to challenge myself, explore new stories, and most importantly, find a new way to enjoy the hobby I love. It wasn't the start of a Friday I had envisioned, but it was the night and game I needed. I guess surviving a horror game solo isn't much different from surviving on your own for a week. You just keep moving forward, one turn at a time.
As the week came to an end, I found myself reflecting on this journey of solo gaming. I started with a lot of doubt, convinced that playing board games alone would feel sort of hollow and pointless. But as each day passed, I discovered something pretty surprising. It wasn't just about pushing pieces around on a board or stacking up points. It was about immersing myself in stories, solving puzzles, and challenging my own strategic thinking. The removal of interaction with another person left me to grapple with each new game like the intricate and fascinating new quest that had to be overcome. It wasn't just about pushing pieces around a board or stacking up points. It was about immersing myself in stories, solving puzzles, and challenging my own strategic thinking. The removal of interaction with another person left me to grapple with each new game like this sort of intricate and fascinating new quest to be overcome. I'd faced epic battles, built an entire ecosystem, guided spirits to reclaim their home, and even survived a terrifying horror movie. I realized that solo gaming isn't a lesser version of the hobby, it's simply a different way to explore it. And that about wraps it up for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video because it took an insane amount of work, like months of work. But it was a hell of a lot of fun, and I really want to do it again. So like, comment, subscribe. Let me know in the comment section if you want to see more sort of like brain rot videos like this one, because like I said, I had a lot of fun making them. So I hope you enjoyed watching them. Take it easy, guys. Bye.